Welcome to the show. This is Powerful People of San Diego. I'm Victoria Turner, your host, and today we have an amazing guest. Mike Curphy is going to, from my Curphy Distilleries, is going to talk about the industry here in San Diego, the small distilleries who create spirits here in our area. It's my understanding, Mike, that we have 19 small distilleries in San Diego?
That is correct. There's ranging from Vista all the way down to Chula Vista.
What's the difference between a small distillery and a big distillery? In 2014, there was a new law that allowed what?
A Type 74 license, which started out allowing us to make and manufacture up to 10,000 gallons per year. And the large ones are considerably more, like the Jack Daniels and all of those.
What's the average that you would make in a given year?
Well, I've only been open for a year at this point, and I have made roughly in the neighborhood of about 200 gallons.
But of those 200 gallons, here's our big secret, you are going to be getting an award at the upcoming Del Mar Fair Awards, right?
That is correct.
Congratulations, that's huge.
Yeah, well, I actually, first time out of the gate, entering a contest, I ended up getting a second place award for my straight moonshine, and then I've got an honorable mention or fourth place for my family recipe of the Ushkabeha, as it's called. It's a single malt whiskey. And
so let's talk about the different types of whiskeys. What's the difference between moonshine and the whiskey that we would find in the store?
Well, moonshine is basically a corn liquor that has not been aged. It's a clear product. Well, not all moonshines are clear, because I have a dark moonshine
product here?
That's been.
It's okay.
That one has been infused with herbs.
Like this, okay.
And it actually comes out tasting like a bacon flavor.
Really? So you have lots of different flavors here. Talk to me about this.
Well, let's start up in the very front up here. It's Ushkabeha. That is my single malt whiskey. That recipe has been in my family for 240 years.
Wow.
I'm the 8th generation distiller of it. It originated in Isle of Man. Then I got an infused almond flavor and an infused raspberry.
Wow.
Single malts. Those are, one is a Christmas whiskey, the other one is kind of a dessert whiskey. It's has a very good almond flavor to it. It's been
almond's
infused.
So popular now. Yeah.
Well, my favorite way to have that is taking a bowl of vanilla bean ice cream with the salted caramel in it, and pour a shot over that for dessert. I'm a happy camper at that point.
That's all you need.
Then I have a new product I just came out this past weekend with, is the bacon flavor.
Bacon flavor whiskey? No kidding.
Oh, it's got a nice hickory smoke flavor to it. It's got actually a bacon flavor to it, but people go, what do you do? Actually use bacon in it? No, it's all done with herbs.
All with herbs, really?
It's amazing what you can do with herbs if you get the right combinations.
So what would I have that with? Like a nice omelet?
Well, actually, I've got another whiskey that's coming out. It's called Ghost.
Ghost?
It's made with ghost chilies.
Wait, you're going to do ghost spirits?
Yes. It's a clear whiskey.
Very spicy.
It's
hot.
We'll put a little dew on top of the head.
Okay.
Okay, I used that, the bacon, with my favorite Bloody Mary mix, and we call it a Bloody Ghost.
Oh my goodness. So is this typical of small distillers, that they have multiple different flavors and things that are totally different from the market?
Yes. We have more of a freedom to try new things and experiment. Like a couple of the other distilleries that's in my location. Bill, he's got a chocolate bourbon.
Really? Bill is Liberty. Liberty Distillery.
Bill Rogers is at Liberty Call. And then Trent Tilton is over at San Diego Distillery. And Trent, he loves to experiment. He tries so many different things. Then back into my products, I've got honey. Now I use local honey.
Really?
Out of Lakeside. I got a beekeeper out there that supplies me with all the honey that I need.
Wow.
So generally when I make a batch of that, there's actually 200 pounds of honey that goes into a 300-gallon container of mash. So all the natural honey flavors, wildflower honey is what it is, comes through. Then I've got my straight moonshine, which I won award at San Diego Fair this year.
The award-winning moonshine.
The award-winning moonshine. And then I have a watermelon that I always have out for the summer.
Watermelon whiskey. Oh, just leave these behind here when you go.
well, the watermelon one there, people, when they taste it, they go, boy, that's such a familiar flavor. And then they'll think about it a minute, and they'll go, it tastes just like a Jolly Rancher's candy.
Oh, my goodness.
And my spring flavors is strawberry and banana. And I have mango all year round.
Mango! Who would think? Mango whiskey. Unbelievable what small distillers can do.
It's a lot of fun. You know, I actually love experimenting myself with the different flavors, but like the bacon flavor, that was a 6-year process to get that to come out tasting the way it does.
Because you used all herbs in order to create that flavor.
Right.
Do you have a background in chemistry? How would you know to do that?
By taste.
Keep tasting it. Let's talk about the reader article, which is how you got to become a distiller. This is not a normal thing. There's 19 of them, and it's a tough industry, but there's 19 of them here in San Diego, and it's growing. But how did you get into the industry?
Well, that's that one there. I was on my way to make a delivery of some not so legal whiskey.
Backyard whiskey, okay.
And I was sitting at a stoplight, and next thing I know, I got rear-ended by a San Diego police officer.
Oh no! So you have illegal whiskey or homemade whiskey in the back of your car, and an officer rear-ends you, and then what happens?
Well, I pulled around the corner. He didn't hit me hard. He just kind of bumped me. Okay. Pulled around the corner. He pulled up behind me. I got out and I looked at the rear end of my car. He didn't even muscle the dust on the bumper of the car.
Yeah.
But because it was an officer involved in an accident, the shift lieutenant and all came out, and I think half the people that weren't on calls showed up just to kind of poke fun at him.
Oh, well, that's nice, but is this product in the back seat or the trunk?
In the trunk.
Oh, thank goodness.
Well, the whole time I'm standing there, I'm going, well, good Lord, if they don't ask me to open the trunk of my car, I will go legal.
Tomorrow.
And actually, it was the very next day. I'd made the good Lord a promise.
You kept
I kept it. I started researching about going legal the very next day. When it took about 6 years to actually get through all the.
Yeah.
Well, I did all my research and did thorough before I started investing money into it. I incorporated in 2015 to start the process of going legal. Once I got through the whole process, we took and had to rent a building out and all that, get all the equipment in place, and this is all requirements of the federal government before they'll even consider you for the license.
Really?
So you got to have the equipment. You got to have.
That's a huge investment.
Yes. And the reason that they do that is they want the investment in there so that they just ain't handing out
licenses to people who aren't serious.
That people aren't serious is correct. So that's how they control it, because you have that investment, which makes sense when you really look at it. Yeah. But once I had the building, all the equipment in place, it went very quick to get the federal license. The state, well, it was more about
hoops. What kind of hoops did you have to jump through?
Well, there was physical inspections of the property.
Well, that seems fair.
You know, and then you had the fees, and and paperwork and more paperwork and more paperwork.
Gosh.
But that's the way the
works,
way government works, is you've got to have all the paperwork.
What kind of investment? If I'm going to start a distillery tomorrow, which I'm not because I'm just going to go get your great stuff here, but if I was, what kind of investment I'm looking for just to start the distillery?
Well, depending on how big of an operation you want to set up, but you can set up a small craft distillery for under $50,000.
Really? In 6 years?
And well, it took 6 years because
did your research.
I did my research and I read every rule and regulation from the federal government and the state before I decided to do this.
So what did you do before you became a small craft distiller?
Well, I worked in the aerospace industry. I've been a tool maker in the aerospace industry for 40 some years.
So you had experience in setting up the distillery anyway, making sure it worked.
Well, and plus I also have a degree in industrial engineering and plant layout, so I already knew how much things were gonna and how I wanted things to flow and all that in there. So having the background does help, but at the same time, when I learned to make whiskeys, was my grandfather taught me when I was 15 years old.
Really? And his grandfather taught him in 8 generations?
Over 8 generations. And my next generation is coming up. My grandson, Diego.
Yes.
He's 6 now. And he's already taken a liking to coming into the distillery and hanging out with Grandpa there. And I kind of got a kick out of him. I was checking a barrel of whiskey and I had opened it up. And he's just tall enough that he could get his face over the edge of the barrel. And he got a good whiff of whiskey. He goes, "Oh, Grandpa, that stinks." I just looked at him and I says, Diego, I says, "That's the smell of money." He goes, "Okay." A couple weeks later, him and his sister were in the distillery. He goes, "Grandpa, can we check that barrel again?" I said, "Sure." I opened up the barrel and he, "Ooh, Grandpa." He says to his sister, Coral, "Come here, smell this." And she put her face over and she got a good whiff. She's 9 years old. She goes, "Oh, that stinks." And he looked up at her and just proud as could be goes, "That's the smell of money."
Oh, smart child.
Smart child. He's learning quick.
And sounds like she's going to be helping as well.
Actually, she says she doesn't want to because it stinks.
Oh, she says that today, but just you wait till she...
Yeah, well, I'd love for it to be a family business.
It's your legacy.
I want to pass it on down to them, when time is right.
Absolutely.
But I'll always have a finger in it as long as I'm alive, because I can spend an 18-hour day in there and never work an hour of the day. Having
fun. I can see this is brings you such joy.
Oh, absolutely. And then when I have people come in the tasting room and actually you're tasting the whiskeys and hearing the comments that people make, no matter how many times I hear it, I still love it every single time like it's the first time, because you got good pride in it. I've had, like my award-winning moonshine, I had this past weekend, I had a fella in from Atlanta, Georgia, and he told me, he says, "I always drink moonshine."
Really?
He says, I know what good moonshine tastes like. I said, "Well, I got an award-winning one." He said, "Well, let me
I'll tell you if it's good enough for me."
Yeah, exactly. And after he tasted it, he had a couple of expletives and said that was the best that he'd ever had.
Oh, how wonderful is that?
And he was in his 70s, so he's got 2 daughters here in San Diego. He says they're going to be visiting you regularly to bring me back
the good stuff.
Bring back the moonshine to Atlanta for him. So
that's
no matter how many times you hear things, it's just as good as the first time that you've heard it.
And this brings you such joy that you put your name on every single bottle.
Well, I put my name on the bottle for one reason, is that there is to say that I make a good quality product and I put my name on it to stand behind it.
Good for you. Now, everybody knows there's a certain television show whose name shall go unmentioned. What's the difference that you found between that show and what you do in real life?
Well, been making whiskey for over 40 years. And actually over 46 years. And what I see on the show is they're not making real whiskey.
What are they doing?
They're making a television show. There's just a few key things that they should be doing that they don't do. And if they were to do it on camera, then they would be ending up committing a felony, and they would go to jail because there's video evidence of it.
Oh my goodness.
So people who believe what they're seeing there, you know, it's not real.
It's a TV show. It's not what really happens.
I mean, they may make illegal liquor, but they're not putting some of the key components in that liquor to make liquor.
I understand. Let's talk about the industry here in San Diego. I know it's a really tough industry. There's things that you can do and can't do. For example, you can't advertise as a small distillery. I'm not. The big distilleries can advertise. Why can those small ones not?
It's part of the Type 74 license.
So it's good news, bad news, huh?
It's good news, bad news. There are certain rules and regulations that make it very difficult. Now, I can advertise within certain confines. I can't just talk about prices or certain things along those lines where looks like I'm competing with the liquor store.
Oh, yes. That makes sense. Okay.
So, but I can go into the liquor stores and actually do tastings in the liquor stores. That was a new rule that they just came out under my Type 74 license now. I can go into a liquor store and actually do tastings.
Sort of like Costco.
Costco won't do tastings of liquor.
Not yet. You just wait.
Yeah.
As soon as the law changes, you guys will be in there.
Well, I actually doubt that very seriously, because Costco has not and most likely never will condone doing liquor tastings within Costco, but liquor stores.
But liquor stores. And most of your 74 licensed people have tasting rooms now. Is that correct?
From what I understand, every craft distillery in San Diego does have a tasting room. Many people, no matter where you're at in the county, it's a good opportunity to go in and actually taste what good quality liquors are, because usually it's small batch liquors that are completely handcrafted. You know, and to me, handcrafted is doing everything from grinding your own grains, hand selecting your grains, grinding them, mashing them out, adding your yeast. And my particular yeast that I use is the same yeast that I got from my grandfather.
Wow.
So I've been keeping this yeast alive for the last 46 years.
Goodness gracious. So that's unique only to your distillery.
Yeah, and the yeast does play a big factor in the flavors of the whiskey.
Sure, just like in wine.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it is going to give it more of certain flavors. Well, the Ushkabeha, that particular one, that's what the yeast was made for, and that is some of the smoothest whiskey that I've had over the years, and I've had some pretty expensive whiskeys that weren't as good. And then I have a lot of customers that come in and will tell you exactly the same thing. They'll compare that to a $300 bottle of whiskey.
Wow. Now, what does Ushkabeha mean?
Ushkabeha means water of life.
Ah, the original.
It's a Celtic term for water of life. And that is actually what the Celts used to call unaged Scotch.
Right. Yes.
My family's called it Scotch for years, but since I've gone legal, I can only call it a single malt, or in this case, Ushkabeha.
Ushkabeha. Yes. Well, you look like a Celt. You could get away with that. You got that beard, and yes.
My little trademark. Because actually, this face will be on one of the bottles here pretty soon.
Ooh.
We've got a product that I'm coming out with. It's a rum, and we're going to call it Whitebeard's Rum.
I love it. I'll ask you a question I ask of all of my spirits and wine people. You did the design of your label.
Actually, I had a friend who does graphic designs. Him and I and my wife, we sat down and collaborated on the design of the label.
What were you thinking when you went in to start doing that design?
I was looking for something that looks classic, that
Elegant.
has that elegance to it, but will stand out. And we went with on the moonshine, the black and silver labels, and gold on my shining star of my whiskey.
Yes.
So we've incorporated that. Then I went into like the name we call our moonshine actually PD 101.
Why?
Well, it's
Police Department 101.
well, actually, you know how in college they have math 101 or whatever.
Right. Yes.
So just on a whim, we called it PD 101.
That's great.
And call it 101 because it is 101 proof.
Ah, very good, very good.
So it was kind of a play on words there.
So, well, number one, how do I find distilleries in San Diego? If you're not allowed to advertise and I want to go say, wait, let's pretend I want to do a birthday party tasting. How do I find local distilleries in San Diego to do that?
Well, you can pretty much Google distilleries in San Diego. First one that's going to pop up, since it's, if you put in distilleries in San Diego, is going to be San Diego Distillery.
Ah.
Trent's Place.
Trent's Place, right around the corner.
He's got a very good marketing strategy there.
Very smart. So you are in a small industrial park.
Correct.
And there's actually 3 distilleries right next to each other. So I want to talk about competition. Since you're right next to each other, are you not competing against your neighbors?
No, we work together.
How does that work?
Well, if one of us is having an event, then we're constantly telling people, hey, you know, there's 2 other distilleries here. Go over and try Bill's Place or try Trent's Place.
So wait. We've got Bill's Place is Liberty Call, and Trent's Place is
San Diego Distillery.
And yours is?
My Curphy Distillery.
So the 3 of you cooperate to generate additional sales for all 3 of you.
Exactly. And since the 3 of us are there together, we feel that we became an afternoon destination in San Diego instead of just going to a single one here or a single one there. You come in and do a distillery crawl between the 3 of us.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense. So if I wanted to go and say have a birthday party or event, I could go to all 3 of you on the same day.
Exactly. But at the same time, Bill, he'll host private parties. Trent hosts private parties, and I also host private tastings. Matter of fact, I just had a private tasting from some employees that were doing a bonding thing from General Atomics, and they came in. They spent 4 hours in there. They got to taste some whiskeys, had a little bite to eat. Everybody had a good time. You know, so it's
that's nice. So when you do a tasting, obviously there's way more here than one person could taste every single one of them. How do you make a determination about what people get to taste?
Well, they choose what they want to taste. We'll go through, we'll explain the different ones, what the different flavors are.
As you've done here, yes.
And they will go through and then they'll say, well, I want to try the family recipe, I want to try the straight moonshine, and generally they'll go with one of the flavors. So you get, because in the distillery you get 3 tastings, each a half-ounce tasting, because we can't serve more than 1.5 ounces of liquor.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the rules of the ABC. So once everybody's gone through and got their tastings, then they can buy. And generally, what happens is, let's say a husband and wife come in. Each will do a tasting, which is a flight of 3. Then they'll each get 3 different ones.
Very nice.
So they each get a little taste of everything.
Of something. Yeah, so just about everything. This is a very difficult industry. What's the biggest challenge that you see right now?
Not being able to advertise the way I'd like to. That's one of the big things. Getting out there and getting known. You know, only being open for a year, it's pretty difficult. But I do have a web page, and I do have my Instagram account, and I do have Facebook,
all the social media.
Yeah, you know, and
so I can like you on social media.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and then once you get on those things, then if you submit your email address, then we take and we'll email you when we're releasing new liquors.
Oh, that's nice.
Or when we're having a special event for those that signed up, because generally when I go to release a new product, we will email everybody out, and they can come out the night before the release.
Oh.
And we have a little private party.
A VIP party. I love those.
Yeah, yeah, and so you get to purchase to the pre-release
before anybody else does, and you don't make that much whiskey, so if you don't get it up front, it's not going to be available later on.
Exactly,
and that's true for all of the small distilleries.
All the small businesses are that way. It's private parties is how a lot of us really make it.
Mm-hmm.
And in a year I've gotten over 150 followers.
Wow.
On my accounts.
Mm-hmm.
And those followers are the ones that are actually find out first when something's been.
Talk about getting something for somebody who has everything. They don't already have this.
Exactly.
Great gift.
Oh, gift ideas. Actually, Christmas time, I was doing several gift boxes. A bottle, a couple of unique tasting glasses. I don't have none of my tasting glasses here, but I got some very unique tasting glasses that I had designed.
Wow.
That are slanted on the top so that when you go to drink out of it, it actually encapsulates the nose so that you have to smell it while you're tasting it, because half the taste is always in the smell.
So, Mike, you have 2 minutes remaining in the show. How would you like to educate the general public about distilleries in general, San Diego distilleries, and even your fine products that you've brought for us here today?
Well, I'd like to start that out with if you're, no matter where you're at in the county, there are small craft distilleries around. Go visit them and actually look them up, because you're going to find you'll have better products, better quality than most off-the-shelf products that you get in the store. Then with a destination like Liberty Call, San Diego Distillery, and myself, with the three of us in one location, it comes a destination, come out, you can go to all three distilleries and actually get some various opinions on liquor. You'll find that everybody makes a unique product, and within those unique products, you'll find that you're going to find something that you absolutely love. And if you hit it right at our location, one of the three of us may be distilling that weekend. You can actually see the distillation process happening. I distill about once a month.
So we got like what, beginning of the month?
Well, it all depends, because wintertime it takes the mash a little bit longer to ferment out than it does in the summer.
Yes.
But we're all basically moving forward and trying to get our names out there, get it promoted.
Because you've already got the best product you possibly could make, so people need to know about it.
I've been making it for over 240, or my family's been making it for over 240 years. And
not everybody can say that.
And that's one of the things that does distinguish my distillery from everybody else, is the lineage of making the whiskeys.
And your unique product as well. Thanks for being here with us, powerful people of San Diego. Mike, Curphy Distilleries. Go out and find another distillery in your area and go try them out. Thanks for being with us. See you here next week. Bye-bye.